Data protection and privacy teams are under more pressure than ever with new laws, AI oversight, data breaches, and the constant expectation to do more with fewer resources.
That's why TrustArc built a modern privacy and data protection management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. It unifies your tools, automates the work that slows you down, and surfaces what matters most right when you need it.
From guided quick actions to our intelligent assistant, Ask Arc, you get credible, contextual answers backed by expert research, not generic AI guesses.
Finally, privacy that works the way privacy pros work.
Learn how TrustArc helps teams move faster with confidence at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.
You're listening to Serious Privacy, powered by TrustArc. Here are your hosts, Dr. Kay Royal and Paul Breitbart.
This week on Serious Privacy, a very strange, unexpected question, an update on the Vermont Data Privacy Bill soap opera, and a lot of discussion about certifications and should you get them or not. My name is Paul Breitbart.
And I'm Kay Royal, and welcome to Serious Privacy. So it was really good to see Paul's face well, not in person, but
on screen.
Virtually today, on screen today, and do this face-to-face. It's nice.
Likewise.
So first, the unexpected question. The first one I saw, I'm going to tell y'all, we don't hardly ever do this, but the first one I saw, I was like, maybe not. It was, what is your most valuable soft skill for successful teams? Then we're like, oh, that's a really deep.
Bringing food.
Right? Feed them and care for them.
Honestly, probably that is what I would have given as a response. Only yesterday I brought pie for the team.
There you go. Supply for the team. And actually, as I was reading the question saying we weren't going to answer it, I'm sitting here, it's listening and supporting them. It's being honestly invested in their success.
Yes.
Right?
But what was the other question you were going to ask?
The other question was, describe your job to a 3-year-old.
I sit behind computers, type and talk.
And since my 3-year-old granddaughter likes to crawl up next to me and do work anyway on my computer and press the buttons, that's what she thinks my job is. Mimi's in meetings.
Yeah, well, that's probably pretty much true.
It is. And then yesterday, I put down the work computer and picked up the personal computer to start working on my final assignment for this AI course I'm taking through MIT. And of course, I'm late and had to petition for them to accept the final assignment late, but shut up. She crawled up, she went, Mimi has 2? I'm like, yeah, one's for work, one's for work. They're both for work. Okay, they're both work, just different work. But no, it's cute. But no, how would you explain privacy job to children? We keep your information safe. They don't understand their information, right?
No, I think for a 3-year-old, the concept of privacy is probably still a bit too complex.
Yeah. We make sure people don't know who you are.
When they don't need to know.
Exactly.
And we keep the bad guys out.
We keep the bad guys out.
Or we try to keep the bad guys out.
And then companies don't listen to us and the bad guys come in and then they have to rely on us to fix it, right?
And we say, told you so.
When does a chief privacy officer ever lose their job because of a data breach? Those are not the ones that make the news because usually they did something we told them not to do to begin with.
Yeah, but usually that would not be the CPO who would get fired, right? I mean, earlier this week, I discussed some case law and prejudicial questions that have been asked by German courts, in this case, to the EU Court of Justice, related to the independence of data protection officers. As you know, under the GDPR, DPOs are protected. They cannot just be fired. They are independent, which also means that they cannot just be fired. And one of the questions asked to the Court of Justice actually was, but does that mean that the DPO also cannot be fired for other tasks that he or she may have? Because not all DPOs are full-time. And there the court says, yes, that is a possibility. You are allowed to fire them for those reasons if you have a clear protocol that explains in what scenarios that could happen.
Right. And who thinks of those scenarios in advance? So that's crazy. So Let's talk about a week in privacy. We don't have a whole lot of earth-shattering news this week, which is really good in some cases. I think we covered a lot of things that happened. I guess one of the bigger things over here was my real and true and deep felt disappointment that Vermont's Privacy Act did not pass.
Yes. And it almost made it. It almost made it.
It did. They passed it. They passed it by an overwhelming majority. Went to the governor. The governor had come out earlier, and you and I had talked about this, without making positive statements on whether or not he was going to sign it or not. Typically, when it's passed, the governor has already supported it. We know it's going to get signed. He did not make those positive statements, but he didn't make a lot of negative statements either. So we weren't sure what was going to happen there. I felt fairly certain that he was going to sign it because it was a really, really good bill. He vetoed it.
For that private right of action.
Yeah, he did not like the private right of action at all. He felt it would be too hard for businesses to comply with the law. Well, I'm sorry. We're here to protect the data of people. The only reason, he gave lots of little reasons, and apparently Vermont Congress overrode quite a few of his vetoes across the board. So there's got to be a little contention there between the governor and the Congress. But on this one, he gave a few excuses of reasons why he didn't pass it. None of them included that he did not think it would protect the data of Vermont people.
No, and I mean, it's fair that it's also his position that he needs to protect the Vermont economy because that's also part of his job description, I think.
True.
And of course, the private right of action that was included in this bill, although I am very much in favor of a private right of action, it is not in line with the rest of the U.S. state legislation. And it is not in line with the proposed federal legislation.
It's an outlier. There's no doubt. It's an outlier. But why is that an excuse to veto it?
Well, because it would mean that companies maybe would leave Vermont because of it. And then you also touch on employment. He could have done a better job explaining it.
I think he could have. I'm just disappointed.
And maybe raise his concerns sooner instead of at the final hurdle and then vetoing it. And also here, the veto was almost overridden, if only for the Vermont Senate.
Yep.
So Vermont is back to the drawing board, and I guess that means that it will be only after the elections of November, right? Given all these half-time parliaments that you have in the U.S. states.
You can't expect me to speak on what they're going to do in an election year for privacy law anymore, can you? I mean,
no, that's true. I mean, you've been wrong all year long.
All year long, and they didn't even stop. I mean, I'm like, surely we're not going to see anything past, I don't know, April or May, and then look at everything that's been happening in June. So don't rely on me for this one. My track record this year sucks. But what about y'all over in Europe?
I'm not going to make any predictions yet. I mean, the new European Parliament has sort of been assembled by now following the elections. I think there are still a few more countries that have to do the final confirmation of their tallies. The political groups are being formed in the Parliament. The European People's Party, so those are the Conservatives and Christian Democrats. They are, again, the largest party with around 190 seats in the 720-seat parliament that we'll get. Then the Socialists and Democrats, and then it's still up for grabs who will be the third political force, whether it's the Liberals or the very much Conservatives that tend to be on the right-wing side of the aisle. The Greens lost quite a bit, and they have traditionally been very vocal about data protection. So the rapporteur for the GDPR back in the days, Jan-Philipp Albrecht, he was a German Green. So we'll have to see what happens there. In the meantime, in the Council of Ministers, so the heads of state and government, they are negotiating on the key jobs. So it seems that Ursula von der Leyen will get another term as the president of the Commission. She is also from the European People's Party. The Socialists will probably get the chair of the Council of Ministers of the European Council. That is likely to be the former Prime Minister of Portugal, Antonio Costa. And that means that the Liberals would get the European Foreign Minister, who is also part of the European Commission. And that is likely going to be the Estonian Prime Minister, Kaja Kallas. And then for Parliament, it seems that the current Parliament President, she's also a socialist, Roberta Metsola, will also stay in power. But that's, of course, not something that the member states will decide, but that Parliament will decide themselves. And then all the other names for commissioners and what portfolios they get. That will only follow after the summer break.
Okay.
Member states will start naming names, but before the commission president has been voted in and all the names are more or less known, she will not be able to start handing out portfolios because that's her prerogative then, assuming that von der Leyen will continue. But it's likely that we will get new commissioners for justice, consumer protection, and fundamental rights because
Nice.
the Belgian commissioner for justice, DJ Reinders, he wants to move to the Council of Europe and become their secretary general. Not yet sure whether he will be successful or not. And Vera Jourova has had 2 or 3 terms in Brussels, and she will not be nominated again by the Czech government. She also doesn't want to be nominated again.
Okay.
So there will be new names, and only then we will see whether there will also be new policies on all things digital.
Very nice. Very nice. Speaking of labor parties and elections and everything, did I mention that my new privacy guy on my team based in the UK used to be DPO for the Labour Party in the UK? I think that's awesome. I'm sorry. I just think that's awesome. It's not the last job he was doing before he came over to us, but I just think I love thinking of, a political party having a DPO or a CPO or anything, because you don't think of them as always having privacy at top of mind. Different in Europe, of course, than it is here in the US, but still, privacy doesn't seem to be a priority for a political party. So
no, but I mean, it's special categories of data, so it's mandatory that they have one.
Yep. So I love it. I love it. Very, very fascinating guy. If anybody's listening, Jordan Hall, he's in the UK. Feel free to say hi to him, whatever, tell you heard his name, get called out on the podcast. Test for my employee. We'll see if he actually listens to his name called out on the podcast. I wouldn't do that to anybody. I wouldn't do it to anybody.
Performance review coming up, only saying.
Performance review, just saying. But other things that may have happened, just as quick little news clips here, the Digital Advertising Alliance with this Web Choices 2.0, which is an update to its ad choices opt-out program. You see the ad choices on a lot of websites, now supporting non-cookie technologies for targeted ads. It allows you to opt out of cookies, probabilistic IDs, and hashed emails or phone numbers, enhancing the privacy control across major browsers. Companies are expected to be able to adopt this new Web Choices 2.0 by the end of 2024. So that's a new one that came out. As you know, Digital Advertising Alliance, very active in this area. The UK ICO and the Canada,
yeah, really?
Canada. The UK
Where is
ICO.
Canada?
It's a tropical island off the shore of British Columbia, don't you know?
No, I've never been there.
So the UK ICO and the Canadian OPC commenced a joint investigation into genetic testing, the 23andMe, following their breach, about 9 months ago or so. So they're looking into that official joint investigation. I think that's interesting. Another complaint by Noib against Google for misleading Chrome users into enabling ad tracking under the guise of a privacy feature. The so-called privacy sandbox merely replaced the third-party tracking with first-party tracking, lacking transparency and informed consent. Paul and I talked about that for years when they talked about getting rid of third-party tracking. We said, well, it had just become first-party tracking.
That's true. And I don't fully agree with the lacking of informed consent, because there is much more information available about the privacy sandbox than there has ever been about cookie tracking. And it is also much more understandable. It may still not be the way we privacy fundamentalists would like to see it, but I actually do believe it is an improvement from the old system.
Yeah. There's another one from Clearview AI, a facial recognition startup offered a class action settlement for a 23% stake in the company to Americans whose faces were in its database instead of a cash payment. Interesting settlement take on that.
So it's been illegal. We've collected your face illegally. We're going to continue to use it illegally, but now we're going to pay you a bit for it, so you won't complain.
But we're going to be really successful. So would you like to have stock in the company for it?
But that's 23% for all Americans, which probably make up about, not even a tenth of the database?
Probably,
so
right.
So how are they going to deal with the rest of the world whose data they're also illegally using?
Right. Crazy.
They run out of equity before they can
ever do it. So
no.
So Apple also announced Apple Intelligence. We knew that this was coming, a personal AI system integrated into the new
iOS.
devices. Yep. Uses own device and server-based models. We talked about this before. Apple rolls out privacy in hardware.
Yes.
Not in policies and all, in hardware. So they announced that in mind. They say built with privacy in mind. Y'all know Apple's not as private conscious as they portray themselves to be. But hey, what they do have in place is not bad. It's where they're missing things in place. What else did we have?
That's true, but I'm not sure whether you watched the keynote. I did, because those are things that I'm a bit of a geek for.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the way, first of all, they started the whole section on Apple Intelligence or artificial intelligence. They started that whole section with 10, 12 minutes on look how we have built privacy right in from the start.
Yeah.
And just doing that
and
already.
It's a good story.
And yes, it's a good story. And yes, there are certainly things we can criticize, but that already for me was a very positive step. They do partner with OpenAI, and I understand there is a lot of criticism there, but it's not that everything that you want to do and want to share and where you want to use AI will automatically be fed to OpenAI. It will tell you, hey, I cannot do this. I need ChatGPT for this. Are you okay if I share this and this data with ChatGPT?
Well, and with
Plus, and that's the best part, they made it all verifiable. So all the critics can go into the tool, they can analyze, they can see the live data, they can see the data flows, and I'm sure they'll find something that's not good enough yet. But making it that transparent and that verifiable at least indicates that they've heard the concerns of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of AI, Hong Kong released its report, its inaugural guide on AI model personal data protection framework. So it has that as well as there's some handshake agreements between Malaysia and Turkey to cooperate to enhance information exchange, which is always really good to see there. And then this one, which is interesting. So the U.S. Supreme Court agreed to hear Facebook's bid to dismiss a securities fraud lawsuit accusing them of misleading investors about Cambridge Analytica and other third parties. So it was revived by the Ninth Circuit Court. They've agreed to hear it in the next term beginning in October. I said before, they select about 200, 300 cases to hear. They're petitioned usually for 5,000 or 6,000 to hear a year. So it's interesting that they've picked this one up. We rarely get out of the U.S. Supreme Court what we're looking for, which is true guidance. What we get is usually a very narrow interpretation on a very narrow set of facts that we can't usually then extrapolate to other companies or other fact sets. We don't get something broad. Part of that is because these cases are so very fact intensive, but some of them are because the laws we have in place just don't speak to the circumstances we're under. And so you're having to spread those laws under new uses of technology that were never even imagined when the laws were passed, much less the Constitution. And so it's really, really hard. And I know all countries face this. You can't pass laws fast enough to keep up with technology. But it's also really difficult for companies to know what to do if the judicial decisions coming out are so very narrow that we can't extrapolate, guidance on what to do, what to not do. In Europe, they're not always necessarily issuing the decisions for public consumption. So therefore, you're still left with the lack of guidance, at least here from our agencies. Their decisions, their settlement cases, their do's and don'ts are very much made publicly available. But we would just like a broader take on the decisions that are coming down. Then again, with the court in place, maybe I don't want a broader take. Maybe I'm okay with it being very narrow. Maybe I ought to back a lot of that out. So yeah. So
also true.
So
yeah, there are two more things from the European Data Protection Board. First of all, they elected on the 19th of June a new deputy chair. Because the current deputy chair, the Dutch commissioner, Aleid Wolfsen, was at the end of his term. So they have now elected Zdravko Vukic, the Croatian Data Protection Commissioner, as the new deputy chair.
Congrats.
who will,
Great.
together with the Cypriot Commissioner Irene Loizido Nicolaidou and the Finnish chair Anu Tsalus, the three of them will now form the leadership of the European Data Protection Board.
Well, and didn't something come out about looking at the trilogue processes as well between the data protection authorities and working together in cooperation across borders and all that? Will this help with that?
Not so much the trilogue process. It will now go into trilogue.
Okay.
That's the new procedural GDPR.
Okay.
So that's the new legislation. But that will have to wait until the new European Parliament has been voted in or has been sworn in.
Okay.
And then probably only after the summer break, we will see these negotiations. So
Okay.
the Parliament, before the elections, confirmed their position on the procedural GDPR. The member states are done or almost done, and then they can finalize that. So probably these negotiations, because this is not the most complex legislation, I think, should be done by the end of this year or early next year so that it can enter into force then quickly thereafter with a transition period, because aligning administrative procedural law is something new in Europe. That's not something the European Union has done before. So that's still a step that needs to be taken. The other thing that the European Data Protection Board has announced is that they will probably also start consulting stakeholders for some opinions and guidelines on a case-by-case basis prior to the first version being published. So we already know that once they have an agreed draft, they put it forward for consultation before they finalize it.
Right.
But now they are also considering to collect input before they start drafting.
Well, that'll slow the process down a little bit. Maybe?
Yeah, it could certainly slow the process down a bit, but it is something.
But it also might speed it up on the other side.
Exactly. It is something that they would be able to do.
Okay. Nice. Very nice.
So tell me a bit more about your AI plans, because I've heard you mention them quite a bit now. You're doing an online course from Harvard, Stanford, MIT.
MIT. And it's one of their executive education courses that are 6 weeks long and you pay through the IT forum. This was deploying AI technologies in a strategic business manner. 6-week course. It was challenging. I mean, I'll give them positive marks. The course was good. I learned a lot. I could probably learn as much, if not more, about AI going through a lot of the free resources that are out there, which I plan to do as well. And I do. But I really wanted this one to see because it forces you to follow the structure of the assignments and put your thoughts down in writing. And as y'all know, just understanding something about AI is a little different than putting something in writing and explaining what you're trying to do to someone else. So I thought that was a very interesting exercise to go through. So I enjoyed that. But y'all know I want to sit for the AIGP.
And is this a good preparation for that as well?
I don't know if it is or not. As you know, we love the IAPP certifications. They put out a wonderful outline for the body of knowledge that you should know. Now, IAPP has also pushed out a practice exam, and they've pushed out, I believe, a book or a guide or something on it as well that you can get. But in addition, I'm watching the posts of the people that actually took the exam and passed it and what they did in preparation for it. And a lot of them, and Constantine being one of them, says he went through massive amounts of preparation. He did this, he did that. He watched these things, he read those things. Someone else put out 4 pages of resources for AI to study, to look. And I'm sitting here going, do I really? I mean, really?
Would you really need to read all of that? I mean, is it going to be that detailed? Is it, and I mean, first of all, what is it about? Is it about, I mean, it cannot be about legislation or case law because there is hardly anything there yet.
Right.
So what is it that the certification would actually give you? Is it an understanding of the technology? Is it?
Right. So their AIGP practice exam, if you're a member of AIPP, is $50. So that's $50 US. And it says that you get immediate access to the practice exam, 100 practice questions in a PDF, and then you get the correct answers with the explanations. And they say that you're going to gain insight into a preview of the exam format. Now, I've never been a good fan of the IAPP questions. I used to think that, okay, they had question writers, but not privacy experts. If y'all have sat through any of the certification exams, I don't have to actually go through and say, they're not the easiest questions to get through. And the questions shouldn't always be easy. They should make you think and they should be challenging, or it's not a certification exam. But sometimes they're just written so badly. And it's because the people writing the questions don't understand privacy, is what I understand. So they're getting better with that. But familiarity with exam question wording, one of the common things across the IAPP exams is you have to use the wording that they use. Not the wording if you're a professional in the field and you already have work experience and this is what the world calls it. You actually have to use the wording that they use on the exam.
Mm-hmm.
The areas requiring further study and input into your potential performance. Now, it's my understanding that you have to get like 70% or 60%, 300 out of 500 questions or something like that to pass, not for the practice exam, but for the real one. So the passing is, I'm not going to say it's just a simple majority, but it is a majority, a little bit more than a simple majority of what you need to do to pass. So it is going to be challenging. Now, they also have their online training, which is basically like $1,200. I have no intention of doing that. And then the other thing I was going to look at is their body of knowledge. So they're usually really good at putting in their body of knowledge outlines. And I do believe in those. I love the body of knowledge they put out. The exam itself, I think, is $800 to take. Now, all of these are US dollars that we're looking at. They usually have a wonderful body of knowledge exam to go through of the things that you should know to take the test. And to be honest, that's all I read when I took the CIPM. As I read the body of knowledge. Well, the body of knowledge, as one of my friends, Maggie Gleckley, went through and made her an outline. I glanced through her outline the night before, but she put it in their body of knowledge and took little notes on it. I read through that the night before the exam, which I was glad I did because then I knew some of the terminology that they use. And to my recollection, that would have been the only thing that would have thrown me off, is not understanding their terminology. The CIPM test, I don't like whatsoever. I'm sorry, IAPP. I love you. I don't like the CIPM. If you're an actual working professional managing a privacy office, they test on the exam is not the way you would actually run an office. And that's what I've actually had to explain to people to take the exam. Whatever you know from your working experience, throw it out the window. Learn their body of knowledge, read their book, use the terminology they use, and answer the question that they ask according to what they state it is in the book, not according to what you know is actual practical experience. They may have gotten better since I took. We'll see.
Well, I can only recommend that you come do the ECPCM in Maastricht, because that's, of course, much more fun, because then I'll be your teacher.
And I would love to do that. Depending on how these elections take off, I might be living in Europe. Who knows, right?
So if we look at the body of knowledge, because I have it in front of me, there are actually 7 domains that are being discussed. It's the understanding of the foundations of AI. So what is it actually? Artificial intelligence, machine learning, also discussing it in the broader social cultural context. It's about understanding AI impact and responsible AI principles, then understanding how current laws apply to AI systems, understanding the existing and emerging AI laws and standards, like the EU AI Act, like Canada's Bill C-27, like the White House document on AI. Then we have Domain 5, understanding the AI development lifecycle, Domain 6, implementing responsible AI government and risk management, and then also contemplating ongoing issues and concerns.
For Domain 7.
It is pretty broad.
It is. And we'll give you the link to this, by the way.
At the same time, I'm not tempted at all to do this. So
Really?
I am curious to first of all, I don't like take multiple choice exams.
And I'm one of these freaks, Adam. I'm a freak at multiple choice exams. Bring them on. I like polka dot exams.
That may certainly be part of it, but also it's such early days. So what value would a certification at this stage bring to show to the world I passed an exam I miss the added value at this stage of the development. So I'm curious to hear from you why you see that added value.
Because my name is one letter.
And then it would be KAIGP.
I just like adding more letters to my name. I've got JD, PhD, CIPPU, or US, CIPPE, CIPM, FIP. I mean, I used to be a registered nurse. I used to have RN. I just like collecting letters. No, honest.
Gotta catch them all.
I gotta catch them all in there. And this adds me
So where
some
are the Q
extra.
and the X?
Right. So, and to be honest, that's only a little bit of a facetious answer. Ever since I was younger, growing up where education was not valued for us, I am very invested in education, but I'm also invested in, if you're going to learn, have something that is demonstrative that you learn something. So something visible. So a certificate to put on the wall, a degree, a letter after your name, something like that. So I'm learning all of this stuff about AI. I want to be able to show my company that I'm learning about AI, because I want them to understand that the AI policy that we rolled out, and I know that that's what you spoke about last week, the AI policy we rolled out, the AI council that I'm on for oversight, I want them to understand I actually do understand AI and the governance and the strategic priorities, not just that I'm a privacy person who now wants to say AI can't touch personal data. So to me, it's a way of validating that I do understand to other business and technical people. I'm not just, some fly by night that's just trying to tell them what they can and can't do. I don't think the people I work with would react that way regardless, because, at this time I've established my credibility. I've been there a little over a year now. Maybe it's one of these personality things that I grew up always having to prove myself. So therefore I want something to show that I've done something to add further validation. So now we're getting into that. I need to be laying on the couch and drinking a sangria and, oversharing personal things. But I think that's where it's rooted from, is always feeling that need to prove that I'm capable of it. Not to mention, I love polka dot tests and I like taking exams. I think they're fun. But
well, that part certainly no. That's not me. I get it that you want to show that this is something you've learned and that you want to do exams, but I think I rather show in practice than do yet another course or yet another examination, and just show by doing. And I think that might also be a difference between the European and the American approach, or just between our personalities. I don't know.
It's probably between our personalities. I mean, in most cases, I'm one of these that, the proof is in the actions. That, if you trust the person is competent and knowledgeable, then you rely on their actions, not their words or what picture they flash up on the wall. I mean, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't know, y'all. My pageant pictures look pretty damn good. I'm just saying. But
you need more than 1,000 words.
I need more than 1,000 words. But, it really is a part of that. So I don't know. I'd actually like to hear from people. What are the drivers for getting certification? I get what Paul's saying. We're at early stages for the AIGP. But what are the drivers for it? Or a lot of them, like me, they like the learning. And if they're going to learn, they want the evidence, or they want to increase their professional visibility. They want to show their value to the company. Studies do show that have certifications actually increases your value in the marketplace to have that as well. And we know that because over the past 10 years, we've seen the CIPP to be just the default, requirement for privacy people. So what are the drivers there? I'll post this on LinkedIn when we post it as well. But also, so to boil down my plan, I'm going to go look over the body of knowledge. I've looked over it again, but I'm going to go look over it before I take the practice exam, see where I am, and based on where I am on the practice exam, tell y'all if I'm going to be willing to wing it and just take the exam. I'll probably go take it at a testing center and not here at home. I know you're allowed the 2 options. I don't see being here at home being the ideal environment. But then again, I work in a madhouse. Why wouldn't I test in a madhouse, right?
Also true. For me, it would be, if I ever do something like this, I want to do an in-person training course with an in-person exam. That's just much more my style of learning. That's also why I like teaching that kind of course. like I do in Maastricht, just to see people in the eye, have the discussions,
Right.
and between us, and try to find the understanding of what is this all about, and not just
Right.
downloading an exam and taking
Not
it.
just being able to pick the right answer. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
But I will say on the law school entry exams, the LSATs, my favorite part are the math games.
I
The
hate
figuring
those.
out these 5 people are in these 5 classes in these 5 buildings and which one. Oh my God, those are my favorite. I coach people on those parts
No.
of the games.
Well, if I ever need to do another assessment, I'll tell you. Then you can coach me on those, because
I love that. I used to do those for fun at 9 years
those
old.
are those are just meant as trick questions to make people screw up. And no,
Here's the thing. Biggest hint, don't try to solve it. You're only trying to answer one question at a time. Don't try to solve the puzzle. If you're trying to solve the puzzle, you're going to miss it every time. But with that, I'll let y'all know what we are and how I do on that. I'll keep y'all updated at that. And that might be our update for this week, Paul.
sounds like a plan. And thank you, everybody, for listening to yet another episode of Serious Privacy. Join this conversation on LinkedIn. We keep telling you, and please do so. You'll find us under Serious Privacy. You will find Kay on social media as Heart of Privacy, and myself as Paul B. Until next week, when we will have a guest again. Bye for now.
Bye, y'all.
That was Serious Privacy.
If you're a data protection or privacy professional, you already know the pressure. Non-stop regulatory change, AI oversight, internal demands, and the expectation to somehow stay ahead of it all. And the old patchwork of tools just isn't cutting it anymore.
No. That's why TrustArc created a modern privacy management platform powered by Arc Intelligence. The TrustArc platform brings your workflows, evidence, research, tasks, and applications all together in one unified and intelligent workspace, so you don't waste time digging, clicking, or context switching.
With Ask Arc, your privacy assistant, you can ask plain language questions about laws, jurisdictions, or even your own program data, and get credible, cited answers based on NIMBY research and more than 1,000 global laws. It's explainable, transparent, and purpose-built for data protection and privacy.
So if you need to add a vendor, create a cookie banner, or start an assessment, quick actions take formally complex tasks, turn them into bite-sized guided workflows to save you time.
It's a platform that thinks like you, works like you, and helps you move faster with confidence, whether you're a seasoned DPO or you're just getting started.
See how modern privacy gets done. Explore Arc at trustarc.com/serious-privacy. That's trustarc.com/serious-privacy.